Hello everyone, we're in the Big South Network studio and we're here to talk about the Leadership Conference for 2020. With me is Commissioner Kyle Kallander. And Kyle, thank you for the time.
Absolutely.
Being 2020, the Leadership Conference wasn't exactly the leadership weekend we're used to. Moved from in-person to online sessions like so many things this year. Can you give us a sort of a broad overview of what those sessions were and how many student athletes were involved?
Thanks, Mark. It's obviously been a challenge in a lot of ways, and we're really disappointed that we couldn't have our in-person leadership conference because we've got usually over 50 student athletes in person up in the mountains in North Carolina for our leadership weekend on a normal basis, and which is always a fun event, a great event, one of my favorites of the year. But we did go online. We went virtual with our leadership. We called it a leadership series because we broke up the weekend into several different sessions. The advantage of that was we were able to reach out and get more student athletes involved. So we had over 100 student athletes over the course of the series participate in it. And so from that standpoint, we were really excited to be able to have a greater reach out, and the way it went, I was really pleased with the participation and really with how it came off.
Excellent. So what were the key points? What were you trying to get across through these sessions?
It was primarily, of course, focused on leadership development, leadership skills. We have had growing leaders come in and visit with us and lead the sessions. So Sterling Brown and Timothy Alexander, who always do such a great job in delivering those messages from a leadership standpoint, did so again. And yeah, maybe you lose a little bit virtually, but they did an outstanding job translating it from in-person to online. And then we also branched off, and this was new this year, we had a session on social justice and anti-racism, which really went well. Jen Fry came in and virtually, of course, and led the session with our student athletes on those topics. And that was something that was really neat to take a look at, really neat to be able to immerse ourselves in from a standpoint of those difficult issues, challenging issues, but honest conversations around those. So it was really great to be able to do that.
Leadership events like this are a great way to get concentrated feedback from them. So what did we learn from them this time around?
What we found from our student athletes, especially talking about some of those anti-racism and social justice issues, is really a need to have education surrounding that. So we want our student athletes to be educated on those issues. We want student athletes to feel comfortable with being able to discuss those issues, finding ways to do that, but also educating coaches, educating administrators on all these challenging issues that we're all faced with. So that is really the big piece. The other piece that our student athletes really want to be able to do moving forward was having opportunities to have discussions amongst themselves. Of course, either through conference calls or online, to be able to discuss these issues, which is great because they may be discussing it amongst themselves on their own campus, but not as much across the conference and other institutions. What are other institutions and student athletes at other institutions facing and experiencing, and being able to share that both from a overall standpoint, maybe with smaller groups, maybe something that's a little bit more safe, more protected in terms of those conversations. So great feedback from our student athletes in those areas.
One thing we know about Leadership Weekend is it requires sponsor involvement to really make it work. And that's been true historically, it's certainly true this year. The support and participation of DB Integrations, Bank of America, Musco Lighting. Can you talk about those partnerships?
Yeah, and of course in this day and age of the economic challenges we have surrounding the pandemic and other areas, their support is probably more important than ever to be able to provide these kinds of opportunities to our student athletes. So we're very grateful for their involvement. Musco has been involved with our leadership conference for years and always do such an outstanding job. Great partners in that regard. And so DB Integrations and Bank of America, a little newer, but really do a lot to help support us. And in fact, one session that I don't think we've had yet, but we're going to do moving forward, is a financial education program with the Bank of America people involved. And so another great experience, great opportunity for our student athletes to learn a little bit more and understand maybe how finance works moving forward in their lives.
Do you see plans to do additional virtual programming of this sort going forward?
I do. You know, we're all kind of learning new and different ways to do things these days. And we want to go back to our in-person leadership conference in the future because the value it gets from having student athletes across the conference together. But we see opportunities here virtually to also present the programming online and virtually so we can have a greater reach out to our student athletes. I mean, ultimately it'd be wonderful if we had all of our Big South student athletes able to be exposed and have access to this great programming. And so we're looking at ways to be able to do that.
Sounds like we have quite a lot to look forward to. Thank you for discussing the leadership series with us, Commissioner Kallander, and thank you for watching.